Welcome, dear listener, to another deep dive into Wisdom Unveiled. We are so glad you're joining us. We're continuing our journey through the really groundbreaking ideas of the incredible Persian polymath Ibn Sina.
Yes, thrilled to be back. And before we really jump in, just a quick but important note. This deep dive, like the others, is based on translations and reproductions of some really profound conversations. These were with eminent Iranian philosophers, people like Dr. Ibrahim Dinani and Dr. Ismail Manzouri Larijani. Now, we've tried our very best to be accurate, but, some nuanced concepts or intricate details might not be fully conveyed, so we just hope you'll bear with us for any potential discrepancies there.
Absolutely. Thanks for adding that important context. Last time we really just started to scratch the surface, didn't we? Ibn Sina's intellect is just vast. So today, our mission is to dig a bit deeper. We want to explore what made his approach so groundbreaking. We're going to look at his unique philosophical landscape, how he distinguished different types of wisdom, his really radical split between existence and quiddity, and even his ideas about truth, and the nature of knowledge itself.
And these aren't just dusty old concepts, not at all. They offer really compelling, sometimes startling, alternatives to problems that, frankly, contemporary thought is still wrestling with. Seriously, what we're getting into today might genuinely shift how you think about knowing, about what it even means to know something.
Sounds fascinating. So let's untack this truly astonishing mind. Right, one of the most amazing things I think about Ibn Sina is he didn't just, follow the path Aristotle laid out. Aristotle was brilliant, obviously, but Ibn Sina dared to go further. What gave him that intellectual courage to forge a new trail?
That's a great question. And it says so much about his genius, really. He had this incredible critical sharpness. He wasn't just spotting gaps in Aristotle, although he did that very well. Mind you, he was actively working to fill them, to build something larger, more comprehensive. He saw where Aristotle sort of left off and where he could innovate.
So not just a critic then, a real builder, an architect of new ideas.
Absolutely, a synthesizer, an innovator. And crucially, he drew from a tradition that was older, maybe richer in some ways, the ancient Qur'anic wisdom. Now, this heritage was steeped in metaphor, spiritual insight. It really emphasized light and direct spiritual illumination, which is a bit different from the very step-by-step logic of the Greeks, right? So he fused the best of Greek rationality with this deep, intuitive spiritual insight from his own background, created a really powerful synthesis.
What a blend, that fusion. It sounds incredibly potent. And it leads us right into how he started categorizing wisdom itself, doesn't it? Seeing different paths to understanding, moving beyond just like logical argument.
He absolutely did. He laid out two distinct types. Complementary, though. The first he called discursive wisdom, hikmah. Now, this is probably what most of us think of first when we hear philosophy. Wisdom built on logical argument, step-by-step reasoning, discussion, teaching, rigorous analytical thought.
Building a case, premise to conclusion, constructing a proof.
Yeah.
Very methodical.
Exactly that. It's the mind's journey, building knowledge piece by careful piece. But then, and this is where Ibn Sina's genius really, really shines, there's intuitive wisdom, hikmah. Now, this isn't just, the absence of argument. It's not just a hunch. The word talk actually relates to taste. So it's like a sudden, undeniable taste of truth, a direct apprehension. And get this, Ibn Sina placed these powerful intuitive insights among certainties, not just guesses.
Wow. Okay, so like an aha moment, but one with real philosophical weight, a reliable flash of insight, not just a feeling.
That's a perfect way to put it. Imagine like a rapid, almost instantaneous mental leap to a conclusion, a complex problem, just clicks, solved. Now, sure, it can be verified later by discursive reason, by the step-by-step logic, but it doesn't need that logic in the moment it hits you. It just flashes. It's where mind and heart, reason and direct experience kind of unite in a single immediate understanding, feels certain right away.
That kind of profound blend really sets the stage for one of his most monumental ideas, doesn't it? One that tackles a truly fundamental question. What's the difference between something being and what that thing actually is? This radical split he made between existence, its being, and quiddity, its essence, or whatness.
You've hit on one of the most foundational issues in all of philosophy, really. I mean, if this distinction isn't clarified, no philosopher can reach a truly solid conclusion about anything fundamental. Ibn Sina, with that sharpness we mentioned, addresses it so beautifully. He has this concise statement. It really captures it. He says, "We conceive of a triangle and doubt its existence, and that which is conceived is not that which is doubted."
Okay, hold on. That which is conceived is not that which is doubted. That's dense. Break that down for us a bit.
Okay, think of it like this. we can fully understand the concept of a triangle, right? 3 sides, geometric shape, its triangleness, its quiddity. We get that perfectly clear in our minds. But even with that perfect understanding, we can still question whether any particular triangle actually exists out there in the physical world.
Ah, I see. So what we understand in our head, the idea of the triangle, the what, is separate from whether it's actually real somewhere, the that.
Exactly. The what of the thing, its quiddity, is distinct from the that it is, its existence. Let's use the table analogy. We've got this table right here between us. Is this table existence itself, or does it just have existence?
The table has existence, surely. I mean, the table itself is its quiddity, its tableness, and it has existence sort of bestowed upon it. This specific table wasn't always here. It won't always be here. It's contingent.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So its tableness, its quiddity, is different from its being, its existence. It's not identical to existence. It participates in existence. Now, he's clear this distinction is primarily a mental one, an intellectual one. In external reality, okay, the table and its existence are inseparable. You can't have one without the other out there. But in our minds, we can clearly pull them apart conceptually. And this principle, Ibn Sina says, applies to everything in what he called the possible world, al-Imkan. Everything has existence, but is not existence itself.
Is there any exception, then? Anything that is existence?
Yes, one absolutely crucial exception. God, for Ibn Sina, is pure existence, hatstia. Therefore, God has no quiddity, no whatness. God's essence is his existence. They are identical. They are one and the same. And this is why our normal human knowledge, what he calls acquired knowledge, the kind that works by perceiving quiddities, why it cannot fully comprehend God's true essence. There's simply no quiddity there to grasp in the usual way. It's also worth noting, maybe, that while later philosophers like Mullah Sadra really developed the idea of the priority of existence, the absolute foundation for that idea is undeniably right here in Ibn Sina's distinction.
That's a massive insight, really fundamental. So how does this distinction then relate to divine creation? You know, we have that beautiful Qur'anic verse, the handiwork of Allah who has made everything perfectly. How does that fit?
Ibn Sina offers another beautiful clarifying quote here. It really helps. He says, God did not make an apricot, but rather gave existence to the apricot.
Did not make an apricot an apricot. Okay, so the fundamental apricotness,
right,
the quiddity, was already there, in a sense, conceptually.
Exactly. That's the idea. All quiddities, all possible whats of things from the smallest ant to the highest angel, they existed eternally in God's knowledge, in the divine mind. Sufis sometimes call these fixed essences, ayin thabata. These essences, these quiddities, as Ibn Sina poetically puts it, had not yet smelled the scent of existence. They weren't actualized yet. But, and this is crucial, nothing else except these pre-known fixed essences even had the potential to exist. It's like, imagine the blueprints for every possible thing existed in the divine knowledge, just waiting to be actualized, to be given existence.
That's a really powerful image, blueprints waiting to be built. It's quite something. And he points out, doesn't he, that only the human intellect, with its power of reason, can actually make this profound distinction between existence and quiddity. An animal just experiences the world. It can't grasp these abstract concepts like being versus whatness.
Precisely. That capacity for abstraction is key.
Okay, let's shift just slightly, but stay with these deep fundamentals. What about truth? Haqq. What did Ibn Sina say about what truth actually is?
Right, Haqq. This is another area where his thought is just incredibly profound. And again, foundational. For Ibn Sina, ultimately, there's only one ultimate truth. Capital T, truth. Now, obviously, we talk about many truths in our daily lives. This statement is true, that scientific fact is true, and so on. But all these instances of truth, they derive their truthness from the ultimate source, from what he calls the truth of truths, haqiqat al-Haqq.
And he uses an analogy to help us grasp this, right? Something about unity.
Yes, a very powerful one. Think about it. Just as every individual, one apple, one person, one idea, gets its oneness, its unity, through the concept of pure, absolute unity itself. In the same way, every individual truth gets its truthfulness from pure, absolute truth.
So there's an ultimate source for both unity and truth. They flow from the same kind of absolute principle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for Ibn Sina, these concepts, pure truth, pure unity, the truth of truth, they're ultimately identical, and they refer directly to God. God's truthfulness is from himself. He is truth. Other things merely have truth. They receive it. They participate in that ultimate truth. This gives a really deep meaning to monotheism, to tawhid, that concept of God's absolute unity. Tawhid isn't just about God being numerically one, you see. It's about God being the very source, the very essence of pure absolute unity and pure absolute truth itself. And these two, unity and truth, are fundamentally equivalent for him at that ultimate level. You can't have one without the other.
That makes his thought incredibly complex in its implications yet profoundly simple at its core, doesn't it? Which brings us to a really crucial point, I think. How does this ancient wisdom developed 1,000 years ago? How does it speak to puzzles that, let's be honest, modern Western philosophy is still grappling with? Specifically, the very nature of knowledge itself. I understand he offered something like a solution to a dilemma that Western thought, especially after Kant, really got stuck on. What was that core problem Kant identified?
That's a great point. And yes, it's a profound challenge in Western epistemology, no doubt. Kant, who was obviously a pivotal figure, famously argued that our theoretical reason, our everyday logic, scientific thinking, couldn't ultimately access metaphysics, or what he called the noumenal world, the thing in itself, which lies beyond mere appearances. He drew a pretty sharp line there.
So our minds can only really know how things seem to us, how they appear, not reality as it truly is in its deepest essence. This sounds limiting.
That was essentially his conclusion, yeah. And this decision, this limiting of theoretical reason's scope, created what many saw as a deep crisis in understanding knowledge itself. I mean, if our standard reason can't touch ultimate reality, how can we truly know anything beyond those appearances? It left Western philosophy with this fundamental nagging question about what knowing even is, a real roadblock.
Okay, so if Western philosophy is still, in some ways, wrestling with this, what did Ibn Sina propose all those centuries earlier? How did he approach this?
Okay, so here's where his insights become incredibly illuminating. They offer a powerful alternative path, really. Ibn Sina basically said that acquired knowledge, ilm husli, needs to be understood properly. Now, this includes all our concepts, propositions, logical arguments, theories, facts, everything we learn from the outside, right? From books, teachers, experience, all processed through concepts in our minds.
Right. Most of what we usually think of as knowledge, the stuff we learn.
Exactly. But Ibn Sina argued that this kind of knowledge, ilm husuli by itself, it cannot ultimately resolve the deepest questions about knowing. The mind, he thought, can't fully grasp its own nature or the ultimate nature of knowing just by using these external concepts it picks up. Something more fundamental is needed, something beyond just processing concepts.
Something beyond just processing facts and ideas, like an inner dimension of knowing, more direct.
Precisely. And that something beyond, that more direct way of knowing, is what he called presence-based knowledge, ilm huduri. This is direct, unmediated awareness. It's not about thinking about knowing something, it's the immediate presence of knowing itself.
Okay, can you give us an example, something that really makes ilm huduri click for us, something tangible?
Sure. Think about your own self-awareness right now. Your conscious experience as you listen to this, you don't need logic or evidence to prove to yourself that you exist, do you? Or that you're awake. Or that you're feeling a certain emotion. You just are aware of it directly. It's fundamental. It's undeniable. You know it by presence.
Okay, yeah, I get that. It's immediate. You just know it.
It's immediate.
Yeah.
But here's the crucial challenge, and this is key. Ilm huduri, this presence-based knowledge, it cannot be fully defined or explained using acquired knowledge, using husuli. The very moment you try to put that direct awareness into words, into concepts, into a definition, poof, it immediately shifts back to becoming an object of thought, back to ilm husuli.
Ah, I see. You can't capture the raw experience of being aware with a concept of being aware. It's an experience, not a definition, like that awakening you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. He uses that term tanabu, awakening or noticing. It's a direct apprehension, not a conceptual grasp. And this naturally leads to the question, okay, how can we actually cultivate this? Is there a practical way to access or strengthen this ilm huduri?
Did he offer anything like that, a technique or exercise?
He did, actually. A powerful mental exercise, quite practical. Imagine you're trying to figure out who you truly are at your very core. You might start listing things, right? Your job, your nationality, your family roles, your political beliefs, your memories, all the facts you know about yourself.
Okay.
Everything you've acquired.
Okay, yeah. All the labels, the external definitions, the ilm husuli about myself.
Right. Ibn Sina suggested, just as an exercise, mentally putting all that aside for a moment, bracketing it off, as later philosophers might say, temporarily set aside all those accumulated inputs, labels, learned information, concepts about yourself. What are you left with then when you peel all that away?
Just pure awareness, pure being. The sense of I am.
That feeling of simply being aware before you attach any labels to it. That, he suggests, is the knower, separate from all the things known. That raw, fundamental awareness. That's the core of ilm huduri. It's not about, emptying the mind entirely, maybe, but about discerning the essential knowing subject from all the objects of knowledge and experience we pile up.
That's a really profound exercise, just stripping away the acquired layers to find the awareness underneath. And this deep understanding of knowledge, both acquired and presence-based, it seems to even color how he understood divine attributes, doesn't it? There's that beautiful quote about God's wisdom and action you mentioned earlier.
Indeed there is. Ibn Sina states that God is wise in his knowledge, and the word is mutqun in his action. It's often translated as firm or perfected or even wise, but that word mutqun is absolutely crucial.
How so? Firm sounds maybe a bit rigid. Or just strong?
That might be your first thought, yeah. But Ibn Sina insightfully connects its root meaning back to hikmah, back to wisdom. Therefore, God's actions aren't just displays of power or, unbending decrees. They are always fundamentally governed by wisdom, by hikmah. This implies that every divine action is perfectly proportionate, perfectly appropriate, perfectly aligned with what is truly right, merciful, and just in any given situation. It suggests a universe where everything unfolds not just by might, but with an inherent, underlying, perfect wisdom.
This brings us back to something Bahmanyar, one of Ibn Sina's students, apparently asked about: the sheer scope of truth and the human mind. It seems Ibn Sina's ideas about the mind's ability to grasp even the ungraspable are profoundly connected to this. Just how vast is the human mind in his view?
Astonishingly vast. Far wider, in a sense, than the external world we perceive. I mean, consider this.
Yeah.
Can you conceive of something that doesn't exist, like absolute non-existence itself, or even something impossible, like God having a partner?
Yes, I can conceive of those concepts. Even though they have no external reality or are logically impossible, my mind can hold the idea.
Exactly. This capacity to grasp what is not or what cannot be demonstrates the mind's almost boundless expanse. Animals don't have this kind of mind, right? They can't conceive of absolute non-existence or discuss eternity. This very vastness of the human mind is what drives our unique search for meaning, for eternity, for immortality. Animals are often content with their daily lives, their immediate needs. Humans, however, we always seek more. We desire the limitless.
So the greatness of humanity, our dignity, lies in this boundless potential of the mind, its reach.
Precisely. It's an aspect of human dignity often overlooked, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Ibn Sina gives us advice on how to strengthen and maintain this incredible mind. He says we must always guide it towards truth. And crucially, fill it with continuous, deep questions. A mind that isn't asking questions isn't truly active. It's passive.
So questioning is vital, not just for learning, but for the mind's health.
Yes, absolutely. And the mind activates itself. It requires engaging in dialogue, not just with others, but with yourself. Just as, the ancient sage Socrates suggested for mental turmoil. Pull these out with a rope of questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's about deep, meaningful questions, though. Not just the superficial queries of daily routine. The questions you ask, dear listener, reveal your deepest identity. When philosophical dialogue becomes a cultural norm, humanity continually re-knows the world, always remaining fresh and vibrant.
As we start to wrap up this deep dive, wow, we've journeyed through some incredibly complex, but I think equally illuminating terrain today. We saw how Ibn Sina didn't just follow Aristotle, he built upon him, transcended him, bringing in this unique blend of discursive, logical wisdom and that direct, intuitive wisdom, opening that path to insight.
Right, and then that fundamental distinction between existence and quiddity. Understanding God as pure existence, pure truth. And then diving into il-huduri, that presence-based knowledge, which really does offer such a compelling perspective, maybe even an alternative, as you said, to some ongoing struggles in Western philosophy about knowing. And of course, finishing with the astonishing vastness of the human mind, spurred to greatness by profound questioning.
And reflecting on all this really raises a vital question for all of us today, doesn't it? For you listening right now, living in our world which is just completely saturated with acquired information, facts, data, opinions flying everywhere, how can you apply something like Ibn Sina's parenthesis exercise, that bracketing off, in your own daily life?
Yeah, how can you cultivate that critical, discerning mind, but also that deeper inner awareness, to move beyond just stacking up more facts, more ilm husuli, to truly begin to know both yourself at that fundamental huduri level, and perhaps also sense the deeper wisdom embedded in the world around you? It's really about trying to find that core essential awareness beneath all the layers of what we think we know.
That is a wonderful and challenging thought to carry with us. Thank you so much for guiding us through that today. And thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into Wisdom Unveiled. We promise to continue this exploration of Ibn Sina next time, uncovering even more of his unique, fresh, and profoundly insightful ideas. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking that deeper wisdom.